All right, have and have not fans. Now you know the drill. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, as well as the bell notification icon. That way you don't miss out on any new content that I post to the channel. And once again, I'm doing this video answering a question that I haven't. This is an old question that somebody asked me, and I haven't gotten around to it. Hence why I said I'm glad the show went on break because I'm able to finally catch up on a bunch of fan submission questions. And wow, this is a good one. And after I answer it in the video, you let me know your thoughts in the comments. What you think? Who has the stronger marriage? And keep in mind, both of these marriages have a lot of problems. I will briefly gloss over them, but I will talk about the actual scenario. The Harringtons or the Criers? We're talking Veronica, David, Catherine, Jim. My gosh, it is nearly impossible. Let me just put it this way. If I honestly, I don't think it's a matter of who has the stronger marriage. I feel like which pair is able to tolerate the other the most. Honestly, I feel like David has put up with a lot of crap, but I feel like a majority of it didn't happen until the show began. Let me just put it this way. I do feel in a lot of ways that David is the more reliable and the strongest part of his marriage to Veronica. And and this is something that happened before the show. And if you hear any creaking, that's my computer chair. I really need to buy a new one. Sorry about that. But I really feel that David showed that he is probably the most. I feel like out of the four, and this is just me comparing all four characters, but two couples. I feel like David is the most loving character. I feel that Veronica is the most controlling. Catherine is the most. I feel like Catherine is like the most grounded because she doesn't let whatever Jim throws at her make her wave or wobble or fall over. But I feel like Jim is the most. What's the word I'm looking for? Not elusive, but aloof, or the most passive. No, passive is when you just let stuff happen or whatever, right? He's the most arrogant. I don't even know how to put Jim into words aside from what Captain just says, the bastard, the son of a bitch, whatever. But let me just put it this way. I feel like one of the strongest things when comparing these two marriages is the fact that when Veronica was going through her drug slash alcoholic addictions, David was there for her. I feel like that alone really solidifies that David has seen Veronica at her worst, but as he mentioned in the show, she truly is on a whole new level. But I feel like David stood by her when she was at her worst, and then from there helped to make her rise, and then their family as a whole. So every time Veronica talks about "I made your ass" and stuff like that, that might be true to an extent, but keep in mind that during your, let me just say, not your finest hour, David was there for you. Like, we don't know how long she was in rehab. We don't know how this affected friends and family and whatnot, but David stood by her side. She came out stronger than she was before, created her own rehab facility, and that's how she became a millionaire. So I feel like David definitely deserves credit for that. Catherine, and keep in mind, I'm not really talking, I want to keep the whole parents thing out of it. Maybe that's his own video based off how well this video does. I might do a video talking about who's the best parent slash parents on the show. I feel like that would have to include even Hannah, because even though Tony wasn't in his life, we do know Tony is Benny's father. We don't know who Candace's father is. I'm not saying Derek, because even if it is Derek, he was never there. Then we have what? Erica's technically a parent, but yeah, that's his own video. So yeah, let me know in the comments below, do you want that video to happen? But also show your love by liking this video, sharing it around and whatnot. But I feel like Catherine put up with a lot of Jim's crap, but at the core, let me just say this much: between the Harringtons and the Criers, despite everything we've seen so far in the show, I feel like all four of them love each other. Like David loves Veronica and vice versa. Jim loves Catherine and vice versa. It's just a matter of who can put up with the most crap. But believe it or not, by default, you could say that Jim and Catherine had the stronger marriage because even though Catherine said she was filing for divorce, she canceled it out while, David and Veronica are still going through the process. So technically speaking, it seems like the Criers win by default. But let me just put it this way. When I think of a strong marriage, I think of, even though they say equality, I don't feel like that's true, because even if both parties in a relationship are balanced and equal, that doesn't really stand true. Because let me just put, maybe that doesn't sound right. You should be equals, but at the same time, they have different duties, is the best way to put it. Especially if you follow like a religious relationship and whatnot, then the man is supposed to be the spiritual leader of the household. That doesn't mean a woman can't lead. It's just that a man is supposed to lead, but that doesn't mean that a woman's spiritual faith and whatnot should be weaker. I guess is the best way to put it. But that's a religion thing. But, well, actually, not just religion, but in terms of being a good person, like, everybody needs a leader. I mean, you can't just have 5 followers. There has to be someone calling the shots. Maybe you share the duties, but at the same time, there has to be a commander in chief of the household. I feel like Catherine and Veronica are the commanders of their households. The fact that Jim says, Catherine watches over the finances like a hawk and stuff like that. Not to mention, it makes a lot of sense because unlike Jim, Catherine seems to be grounded, knows her place in terms of being an heiress, and that she has to run things because Jim is out running around with whores all the time. So if he's not going to keep an eye on things, then Catherine is the one that makes sense. Veronica, on the other hand, it's the fact that she just loves to be in control. So I feel like that makes sense as to why she would be the person running the Harrington household. I can definitely see that. So the women take charge. But I feel like the Criers lose points because of the fact that Jim really wasn't faithful in this marriage. I don't think that David ever stepped out on Veronica aside from sleeping with Maggie, but keep in mind that occurred after Veronica slept with Benny. And I don't even know how many other times she may or may not have cheated on David while they were married. We know she's had sex with other men like Derek, Judge Gilman, and who knows who else and how many. But keep in mind that Derek did say, "You're taking me back to the life I used to live 15 years ago." So does that mean that Derek was in jail 15 years ago and then got out by Veronica? Because if that's the case, that means that Derek and Veronica had sex after he got out of jail 15 years. We know that Jeffrey is older than 15. So technically speaking, if the timeline is actually correct on that, that means that Veronica slept with Derek while she was married to David. So yeah, cheater. I feel like it is possible that Jim probably has the most mistresses outside of both marriages, because even though Catherine says she had a couple, she probably did, but I doubt it's enough to even match half of Jim's. Not to mention, who knows how many Veronica slept with. I feel like out of everybody, David was the most faithful. Another thing to keep in mind is that Jim really makes the Criers lose a lot of points on the fact that not only was he sleeping with the maid, but had 2 kids with her. So that really makes it seem like the Harringtons are good there, because as far as we know, David and Veronica don't have any other kids outside of Jeffrey, as far as we know. But I feel like when you really think about it, as a team effort, I think that David and Veronica pale in comparison for Jim and Catherine. I feel like some of the finest Catherine Jim moments was after Amanda's death, and those two went on the warpath, taking out Candace temporarily, confronting Professor Cannon. But then things started to slip when they went to see Wyatt in prison. They were driving off. Catherine was like, "Look, we need to get him out of there," but Jim didn't listen, which is exactly what happened when Amanda died. If he had listened to Catherine and put her in an institution, she most likely would still be alive, but wasn't. And then, because Jim didn't listen to Catherine, he ended up being taken advantage of by Toxic in jail. So things aren't looking too good. But overall, I'm not going to lie here. Not to mention, Jim and Catherine had sex at least once since the show started. We saw that at the end of the last season. I'm going to say this one. In terms of the strongest marriage, I feel like the strongest marriage is probably the Criers. But at the same time, I feel like David is definitely the strength behind the Harrington marriage. I feel like Veronica really focused more on keeping the family together and the fact that I don't want a gay son. I don't want a husband stepping out on me. I feel like she only wanted that kind of lifestyle just for the sake of public appearances and creating like this black family dynasty. But Catherine and Jim have truly went through a lot. I'm not diminishing everything that David went through with Veronica, but I feel like most of the problems in that marriage were created by Veronica herself, and David pretty much took as much as he could take until he finally stepped out. But with Jim and Catherine, those two have truly went through the motions, and Catherine did want to leave and literally said she was going to divorce, but Jim's talked his way back into it, but at the same time, the divorce was canceled. But I do feel like the Criers win this. This is just my opinion. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Which pair has the strongest marriage? Trust and believe both are a hot mess in themselves, and I really can't wait to get your thoughts on this one. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I'll talk to you all soon.